Live. Just 1 second and I'll start us off. Okay. Notification. All right, welcome everyone to this GEG NorCal event. We are from the Google Educator group in Northern California, and we are hosting a short talk today on the 4 reasons you should use Google Classroom next year. And Google Classroom is one of the newer apps from Google. It's getting a lot of attention in my county, and our discussion guests here will talk about what's happening in their county as well. But I think you're going to learn a lot if you haven't used it, and get some tips even if you are using it. So welcome, and we'll jump into this right away. I do want to point out we have the Q&A going, so if you have questions and you're watching, you should be able to post the questions, and they will show up to us, and then we'll answer them. If you aren't able to use the Q&A feature, you could ask questions on Twitter, and be sure that you mention either myself or Don or Josh, and I will monitor mine. So if maybe try mine, they'll be doing a lot of the talking, and I will try to pick questions up off of Twitter too if there are any. So with that, let me introduce myself. My name is Ray Fearing. I work for the Del Norte County Office of Education in Crescent City, California, which is Northern California, as north as you can get before Oregon. We actually sit right on the Oregon border, and we're on the coast of Northern California. I work as the Education Technology Coordinator, which means I support the county and all of our approximately 250 teachers to integrate technology for learning and other duties as assigned, and spend a lot of time working with Google Apps. We are a Google Apps for Education district and county, and supporting anything teachers need to help them use technology efficiently and learn how to use technology in new ways in their classrooms. So that's I'm also a Google certified teacher, and the Google Educator group NorCal, one of the moderators. And I'm excited to be talking today with Josh Harris and Don Casperson. I was combining your names there. So we'll go ahead and get started. And Don, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Don Casperson. I work for the Fairfield-Sassoon Unified School District as an educational technology specialist, which means that I support teachers in the integration of technology into their classrooms and provide professional development for those teachers. I am a Google educator, not an education trainer yet, but working towards that. And so we support hundreds, between 150 and 170 teachers apiece. Josh?
I'm Josh Harris. I am one of Don's teammates here in Fairfield-Sassoon Unified. We are the largest school district in Solano County, which is almost equidistant between Sacramento and San Francisco. Like Don said, we support 150 to 170 teachers. First through 12th grade. I think both of us have elementaries and high schools that we work with. We have someone in our district who supports K. They're not left out of the mix. They just have their own special person. So, and I am a Google education trainer myself too.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh and Don. And Josh also heads up our Google Educator group for NorCal Voxer group, which is awesome. And he's really taken that on, does a great job keeping the conversation going there, and it's a valuable resource. If you're not on Voxer for PD, check it out. It's a good thing. So let's get started and jump into Google Classroom. We're going to talk about 4 main areas. The first one is what I sell teachers on when they start asking about Google Classroom, and that is how it can help make you more efficient with creating work, distributing work, and collecting work from your students. And I think that is a big sell for teachers, anything that makes their job more efficient. So let's talk a little bit about how it can be a digital photocopier and collection device.
Yeah, so for those of us, like you, we're in a Google Apps for Education district, and before Google released Classroom almost a year ago, it's August, and um, you for elementary teachers in our case, it wasn't as hard to sell them because they had a smaller class size, but secondary teachers were like, you want me to share with how many kids? You want me to make how many copies? And then figure out some way to collect them. So there were some workarounds and some great what were scripts at the time to do that, but Classroom makes that so much easier because it's automatically linked directly to your Google Drive, and it will take what you've created, or you can even start with blank pages and make each kid their own copy. It puts their name on the file, which is a huge selling point, and then it creates an automatic turn-in space for them as they go.
You have the option to make a copy for each student, but you also have the option to make one copy to share with all of your students. It doesn't have to be a single copy for each child.
Yeah, I think that's an underutilized, or sometimes, so if you, what Don's talking about is you can like put your whole class into one document or one spreadsheet or one set of slides or however you want to do that. And at first, that seems a little daunting to a teacher. It'll be chaos, but it's actually a lot of fun, and it's a good way for kids who won't raise their hand or who don't like speaking out to put their thoughts down on digital paper. And if you use the revision history in Google Docs, you can see who wrote what, and there still is a level of accountability. It's one way to facilitate discussion in Classroom, I think.
And I think that's so important, giving every student a voice. And I've found that when you have these tools available for students, you hear from more students. And not only do you hear from more students, but the quality of response and interaction you get from them increases. I just noticed that you're surprised at how much richer the conversation is between students or between students and teachers.
Yeah, I think part of the reason is if they know someone else is going to be reading it, they tend to put a little bit more into it. And I think, we all do that. If you're just singing at home for yourself, then that's not that big a deal, and you don't care if you're off key. But if you sing for an audience, suddenly, you pay a bit more attention to what you're singing and getting the words right. So I think it's a similar thing.
Don, did you have any comments about classroom discussion?
For classroom discussion, you have the option for the single document that everybody works in, but the stream in Google Classroom is another good place to post a quick question and then have all the kids respond with a quick answer. And again, back to Josh's point, they have a legitimate audience and they tend to put a little more thought into what they're saying, and everybody can see their answers in the stream, which is kind of like, for lack of a better reference, Facebook stream for us. For the social side of things, it's your classroom version of that.
Yeah, and I think that, can you guys show what the stream looks like?
Sure, I'll go ahead and do that.
Because I think, like you're saying, when they know that it's going to be read by others, it takes it to another level, makes it more authentic, and it also stimulates other student thinking when they see what other students are saying. I think that's real beneficial as well.
So this is a training classroom I use. You can see by the name of it that it's called Playtesting for Training. So the students in this are all my fellow teachers. It's sort of our demonstration and training sandbox sort of classroom. So you can see here are the assignments, and this is a fun thing, done and not done, and you can click right away. And you see this very important assignment only has one person. But if we scroll down here, teachers were just shooting questions in and sometimes able to answer each other. And, like in most of our social media, it will collapse comments after a while, but we have a name, and as the teacher in here, I can respond back to her directly, and the plus and her email means it'll tag her. But this works depending on how you have the settings set for your students, because, this is wide open, and you can change what your students are allowed to do, but students can respond to each other. So you can have this sort of class discussion, and because it's on the web, or on mobile, because they have pretty good iOS and Android apps for it. They're not restricted to when they're on your devices and your network, but because their names are always there, we never really lose that accountability piece. In terms of controlling what students do, I'm in the student section now, and right here at the top there's 3 options. The most permissive is students can post and comment. The next one is students can comment only, which means they just can't start the post. And then the last one is only the teacher can post or comment. And then if you really need to, you can mute one student. So if you only need to turn one kid off for a second, you don't always have to be global with that.
So that's a great example, Josh. And we have a question from somebody watching. Efren Rodriguez is asking if we have any suggestions on how to use Classroom for a book study. Example, collecting responses from participants. And I think that stream would be an awesome way to do some interaction with the book study. What do you guys think?
For quick questions about a book, for that kind of daily question that you might have to get a discussion started, that would be the stream would work. You could also use a shared doc, like we mentioned earlier, so that you have a little more structure. Prep a doc with and use it as a template and have students enter into it, so that they still can all see answers. But then you have a little bit more accountability as to who answered what and when, and it's referenced in a separate document that you can find in your Google Drive, as opposed to just being in your stream.
I think that's a good idea. The doc, especially if you want some interaction, because then they can use the comment system. If you were a little bit more interested in sort of one-way answers, you could also put a form. You could build a form and distribute the form through Google Classroom, and then also share the response spreadsheet with the students and give them either comment only or view only privileges, so they can't change responses. But using the comments in the spreadsheet, you could also have, because comments will thread discussions as well. So if you want a digital discussion, you put it out through the doc like Don suggested, or the form, and then share the spreadsheet responses as well with limited access. There's a couple different ways to do that, I think.
There is. So for maybe a whole class discussion, I like the idea of a teacher posting a question and then only allowing students to comment. And you can really limit things that way and get some good commenting going on specific things that you're putting out there. But then you could also change that so that if you wanted students to be able to post, they could also add and start a post, start a question or a comment, and then have others respond to that. So I like that for maybe whole class. Is that what you guys are thinking that's best for whole class discussions? And then like for a doc, if you're assigning each students to work on a different piece or maybe a different question about the book, you could make a doc, share it to a specific number of students or group of students, so they could be working on different topics and having discussions, little mini discussions in their groups. Wouldn't that work as well?
Yeah, I think it would. I think what you end up doing, the way I would do what you just described, is set up a multi-page document and maybe put in the header who works on this page, who works on that page, and then instead of making each kid their own copy, share it to the whole class with edit privileges, so we're all 34 of us, or however many are in your class, all writing to the same document. That's a way to do that. I think, like anything else, I think you build up to that. You know, that's a pretty high level of collaboration, of making sure to not accidentally delete others' work and that sort of thing, and I think you build up to that the same way you'd build up to any more complicated technical task, because really the point there is the classroom discussion, right? It's the talking about the book as opposed to the using all the nifty tools, which are fun, but that's not the point of the learning. So.
Right. Do you have anything to add, Dawn?
I just that you can do what you can do, like in stream, a single doc with quick questions and answers. I've seen it done with students. But if you're doing group work, I think the single doc with a separate page, or a lot of teachers will use a separate slide on a slide presentation instead. So they number the slide like in the speaker notes, and each group works on a single slide in the presentation.
Oh, that's a great idea too. Great. Okay, so we talked about, let's see, 4 things. We're coming up with 4 reasons to use Google Classroom. We talked about digital photocopier and collection. We didn't give some examples. Maybe we'll go back to that. But we talked about classroom discussion, giving every student a voice. Let's move on to the next one we wanted to talk about, which was videos and using Drive for video storage, getting around that YouTube block.
So Josh, do you want to show from the teacher side do you have a video available?
I'm sure I do. So yeah, let me switch over to that screen. So if you are doing an assignment and it requires a video, if you have it in your Google Drive, when you go to attach, you have the YouTube button here, but if your district has YouTube blocked for students, or in some cases altogether, what you can do is organize your drive alphabetically so you can actually find stuff. What you can do is host the video out of Google Drive, and then look, the classroom walkthrough video. And then what happens is you post it here, and since it's hosted out of Google Drive, your district network settings just basically treat it like anything else shared out of Google Drive. So once you've attached it here, and you see it automatically sets for them to view, they don't need to do anything else with it. You need to have a title. That's the one thing you always have to have in a classroom assignment. But there you are. Now, excuse me. So that does mean you either need to have made it yourself or you need to have downloaded it from YouTube. And there's various ways to do that. Did I miss anything there, Dawn?
No, just that you've created it as an assignment so students could watch it and then mark as done.
Yeah.
Or you could just post that as an announcement without making it an assignment, a separate assignment, so students could come back to refer back to it.
Right. So I think it would, if you were doing a flipped model and you were like looking for that accountability piece, since if you did it as an assignment, like Dawn said, they can mark as done, and you have some way of, they had to at least physically clicked on it, right? So if you're going to make that effort, you might as well watch the video.
That's awesome, and that is such a great feature because a lot of schools have YouTube blocked, and so trying to find ways to get those videos to them, you do have to download it ahead of time, and like Josh said, there's a couple different ways that are not difficult to download videos from YouTube. So I know I use Firefox for that, and I just want to give people a couple of resources in case they haven't done that before. Josh, you have a favorite way?
Yeah, the SS download trick. Do you know that one?
No.
Okay, so this is really super easy. So let me screen share once I navigate to something appropriate on YouTube. And pause that. Okay, so here we go again. So in YouTube, once you've got to your video, here's this Google Apps for Education video. If you come up here to the URL and type in the letter SS in front of YouTube and just hit return, it will take you to a free online downloader called SaveFromNet, SaveFrom.net. And what it's doing right now is it's sort of processing the thing, and then over to the side here on the right where it says more, I could either pull it down as an MP4 at 360 or an MP4 at 480. If the video was higher quality, then I could do it at a higher quality level. But you pull it down from here, and it downloads it right to your downloads folder, and then you have it. It's there. It's super simple.
Yes.
And then from there, you just upload it into Google Drive.
Perfect. And that is such an easy thing to do, and I think people don't know about it because it's very handy when you need to take. I mean, you have to can't just show it, so you have to have a little bit of pre-planning to save it. But
Absolutely.
worth taking the time. So I was just going to show real quick. I'm using Firefox, so I am in Mozilla or Firefox browser, and you can get the Easy YouTube Video Downloader plugin. And once you download that, then it is when you go to YouTube. I just looked at the Infinite Thinking Machine. A little shout out to Q and ITM. You have this download button, and then you can just choose Download As and choose what format you want to download it as, and it saves it to your computer. So that's what I use whenever I download. But there's multiple ways, like Josh said, and it's super convenient and easy to use, and then you can save them to your drive, and your video's there when you need it. Awesome.
You know, I think I just came across a Chrome extension that does that. I haven't tried it out, though, so I don't want to vouch for anything, but I think I just saw that as well.
Okay, awesome. Let's go on to the fourth reason to use Google Classroom next year, and we have that About page. Let's talk about the About page.
So the About page is the page where you get to post those things that you need your kids to have access to all year long. It's a great place for you to put a room number if you your classes are in different rooms, but it's also a place to put those links to websites that you use all the time, to your syllabus for that particular classroom, anything that you need the kids to be able to find easily.
So one of my schools is strictly PBL, and one of their uses for it is long-term directions. So they use Google Classroom every day, and so if you have to scroll back 2 weeks and your teacher's been assigning every day, then you are in what I think Molly Schrader might have called scrolling hell, but I don't want to attribute that to her in case she didn't say it. But you either have to get real comfortable with the Control F feature, or like Dawn said, if you want to put long-term directions or project pieces in there, then About is a more static area, so they don't have to go digging so deep for it. And if your time frame is more like a 2-month project, because again they're PBL, so there's all these little steps building up to the big project that these little sort of interim tasks, then they started just putting stuff in there About because it was easy to get to. And I think most of us use About, sort of stick it in there like your syllabus, your classroom rules, all that sort of stuff, and then sort of forget about it. Set it and forget it. These teachers became more active with About. It was just rotating on a monthly basis as opposed to like the stream, which is daily and in some of their cases hourly. Yeah, so it's, and links, like you're always going to go there instead of the kids having to worry about bookmarks, especially your littler kids. About is a good place to store anything that you're going to refer to over and over again.
Excellent tip, because stuff can get really lost and buried in that stream of assignments and things. So, but you mentioned Control F, and I'm not sure everybody knows what Control F feature is to find things. So can you explain that a little bit?
Oh, sure. So Control F is the find command. It works on pretty much everything. Word, Google Docs, Chrome. It's kind of a universal key command, and what it does is it finds a piece of text or a text phrase. So you could do a single word, you could do a phrase, you could do a letter combination, like if you're looking for the word school, you can just go SCH. There's not too many words that start with that letter combination, and it will find all the instances of it on the page, and it will let you click through to jump to each place where that occurs.
Super handy.
Command F on a Mac, obviously.
Can one of you show us your About Me page? I know you had a couple examples.
You want me to do that, Dawn?
Sure, I have it from the student. I have the playtesting for students on mine, if you'd
Go
like
ahead, then.
the student version. All right, so you should see this is Josh's class that I'm a student in, and it has the information about the teacher, a place for me to quick email the teacher, a link to my student folder for this class, along with all the information about room and how you use websites long-term project directions, presentations for me to refer back to, along with those things that we all have for our upper grades, the syllabus for the different courses that we might be applied to this particular class. So anything on this that we'd want to see more about? I mean, these are all links out. So each of these will link out to a website or to a doc.
Nice picture, Josh.
Super stunning there.
So when a teacher updates their About page, can they order those things, or is it in order of date added?
It's the order you added in. One of the things that our teachers ask for is like when you get all your class tiles, they want to be able to rearrange them in a certain order. And it's strictly order of creation as far as I know. I don't think that's changed recently. Which is another sort of a thing to point out is this is still a new product for Google, and they're very responsive to feedback. So in the lower left-hand corner, lower right corner of every Google Classroom screen is a question mark, and if you send them feedback, we were on them, we being the teachers of the world, about adding partner teachers. That finally came through. Initially, when it first rolled out, once a student claimed their copy of the assignment, the teacher had view-only privileges. That was not useful. So they've updated a lot of these things. I think sometimes you're like, why would they do it that way? Well, remember, this is Google's solution for kinder to higher ed. So it gets very general in places, but yeah, they're very responsive. If enough people request the same thing, it gets moved up in the queue, and Google does deal with it. They're updating Classroom constantly.
Good point. And I know that another thing that people asked for and is happening or has happened everywhere is they wanted to be able, some people have in their Google domains teachers in one domain, students in another domain, and that was a problem because you had to create a teacher account in the student domain to be able to work and talk with your students, and I believe that's been fixed now, and so, or it's rolling out anyway. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, we're all in one domain here, so I really haven't. I'm taking, yes, I think from what we've heard on Voxer, plugging Voxer, from what we've heard on Voxer, some of our friends who have separate domains, Google's actually worked that out. So if you're in this, I think the same overarching domain, you can hopefully that's not an issue. It seemed like in some of the folks in our NorCal Voxer group, it was still an issue, and for some of them it wasn't. So I'm assuming that it's being sorted out.
Yeah, I know that was on the radar to be fixed. We are also students and teachers all in one domain, but I know it was an inconvenience if they weren't. I think the other feature I've heard that's been added is it used to be one teacher, and now you can have multiple teachers in a class. Mm-hmm. And that was something they listened to and changed also, right, Dawn?
Yes, they did. You can invite a secondary teacher that can do everything but delete the class, everything that the primary teacher can do but delete the class. I think early on they had all the students sorted by first name, alphabetically by first name, which for lots of teachers is a problem. So now you can sort alphabetically by first name or by last name. That was a feature that was added later. So they've really responded to teacher requests.
So definitely check out Classroom. Click on that question mark in the bottom corner, right or left. It'll be in the bottom corner. And put your feedback in there because it's important to give them feedback, especially when they're initial stages of using new apps like this. Awesome. Okay, so I think we went over our 4 reasons to use Google Classroom next year, and I know we have more and more teachers wanting to use it, and I'm hoping they watch this archived video. It will be available. I'll tweet it out. I know Josh and Don will tweet it out as well. It'll be on my Google Plus page, and we'd love to have people share this resource with others if they're asking about Google Classroom, should we use it or not. There's some great reasons to use it. So any final comments from you, Josh, and then we'll go to Don?
I think this is really makes this is the air traffic controller for docs and drive and email that we were waiting for. It makes things so much simpler. It's like your photocopier and your turn-in cubby all at the same place. and all paperless. And I think I can't think of a reason not to use it, frankly.
The beauty of Google Classroom is that it's simple. We have kids using it in the primary grades. It's very simple. It makes the teacher's life so much easier. It's a quick place to email your kids, to distribute and collect work. We didn't really focus too much on the collection of work, but it makes it so much easier to get that work collected, and then even to provide students with feedback automatically using the grading features in Classroom. It just streamlines your digital process, makes your life so much easier.
It does, and work collection is a big deal. I know that teachers had issues with creating student folders, having students share their folders with them in Drive, and coordinating all that. And this takes care of all that for you. It automates it. It is so much easier. I did have a couple of teachers who had a question. They were using Google Classroom, but every time students would complete an assignment, I think it was sending them a notification in their email, and it was driving them bonkers. And so I know that in their settings you can turn that off so that you aren't getting bombarded with emails. So if you are using Google Classroom where you try it and you're getting email notifications that you don't want, those can be turned off.
Also, if you use a tabbed inbox and you activate the updates tab or the social tab, it should kick them over there so they're not in your main inbox as well.
Oh, nice. Excellent. Well, we hope everybody learned something today, and if you have any more questions, I know we're all available on Twitter and Google Plus, and look us up. We'd love to chat Google Classroom and other googly things. So thank you guys for participating. Josh and Don, I really appreciate your expertise, and I know you've been doing Google Classroom training in your district, and I appreciate all your help today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.